Have you ever thought about mathematical patterns within the Qur'an? Because once you start counting, things get very interesting. Now here's some simple examples. The word yawm in Arabic for the word day appears 365 times, the exact number of days in a year. The word month appears 12 times, and the days in plural appears 30 times. So think about that. Was that on purpose or is it coincidence? Because the Quran wasn't revealed all at once. The Quran was revealed gradually over 23 years. But yet these patterns span over the entire book. And the Quran doesn't just use numbers, it balances them. There are opposites that appear in perfect symmetry. And what I mean by opposites, here are some examples to show you what I mean by opposites appearing in symmetry. Life and death, angels and devils, this world and the hereafter. It's like meaning itself is being mirrored mathematically. Now look at the structure. Take Surah Al-Baqarah for example, the longest chapter, 286 verses. And right in the center, verse 143, exactly halfway, the verse says, "We made you a middle nation." So the structure and the message line up perfectly. Then you have other examples that we could add to these patterns, such as sea mentioned 32 times and land mentioned 13 times, which gives us the ratio very close to the Earth's surface proportions of 71% of sea and 29% of land. Within the chapters itself, there are cases of perfect internal balances, sections mirroring each other. There are themes that return full circle, even without the numbers, and there are plenty of examples of the numbers. But the Quran is so unique, it's intertextual. It doesn't read like a normal book. It's not a linear progression. It shifts between law and story, between warnings, between mercy, the past, the present, and the future. And yet it is all unified. And beyond the structure and beyond the numbers, the Quran also points to realities about the natural world. And here are some examples. Let's look at the origin of the universe, the Big Bang Theory. Many scholars suggest that this verse is referring to the Big Bang Theory. Surah 21 verse 30. The heavens and the earth were joined, then we separated them. The expanding universe in chapter 51 verse 47. We constructed the heaven and we are expanding it. Celestial orbits in chapter 21 verse 33. The sun and the moon, each swimming in an orbit. Surah 36 verse 40. The sun cannot overtake the moon. In chapter 78, 6-7. Mountains as pegs. Water cycle winds, clouds, and rain, all throughout chapter 30 verse 48 and 15 verse 22. Barrier between seas. Surah 55, 19-20. Between them is a barrier, fresh and salt water. A barrier and a partition, 25-53. Human embryology. Development stages, the drop, clot, lump, the bones to the flesh, Surah 23, 12-14. The Quran tells us of fingerprint uniqueness in chapter 75, verse 4. We are able to restore even his fingertips. Surah 24, verse 40 speaks of deep sea darkness. There are layers of darkness one above another. Now, we shouldn't base our Islam or our faith entirely on any of these observations. The Quran's primary purpose isn't to be a science textbook. Its central message is about guidance. It's about God, worshipping, morality, and the purpose of our existence. But when we notice patterns in the Quran, its remarkable language, the structure of its verses, or the way that it draws attention to things like the camel, the bee, the ant, the heavens, these give us other reasons to pause and reflect. But they're not the foundation of our faith. For example, we have palindromes in the Quran with linguistic symmetry that appear precisely in a passage describing orbital movement. Take Surah Al-Yasin, for example, verse 40. Allah says that it is not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor does the night outrun the day. Each is traveling in an orbit. So we have the sun traveling, the moon and its phases, and then verse 40 brings them together by saying, Kullun fi falak, the sequence of consonants represented here. It's reading back on itself. It's talking about an orbit, and you're looking at a linguistic pattern that itself has a kind of circular or symmetrical character. And then the Quran gives us another interesting example of the camel. Allah says, do they not look at the camels, how they are created? And as we know, the camel can survive in
extremely harsh environments, and its body is adapted for conserving water, dealing with intense heat, and its anatomy can allow it to carry extremely heavy loads across the deserts where many other animals would struggle. So the Quran is not just saying, look at the camel, it's saying, ponder on it. How is it created? Examine its design, examine the construction, and think about why it is the way it is. Look, think, reflect. And Allah gives us plenty of examples, such as the spider, the bee, the ant, camel, the horse, the elephant.
These are presented as signs to reflect. The Quran is constantly encouraging us to think, to ponder, to reflect. So when you put all these together, there is numbers, there is structure, there's meaning, there's natural signs, and you start to see the bigger picture. But the Quran isn't just something that you read, it's something you explore, layer by layer. Islam is a very lofty religion. And I want to end with a verse that's in the Quran that mentions something very small, and most people read past it without thinking twice. In Surah 22 verse 73, the Quran says that if a fly takes something from you, you can never get it back. Now that may sound simple, but modern biology has discovered something quite fascinating. A fly doesn't just take food, it releases powerful digestive enzymes the moment that it lands. And those enzymes break the food down outside of its body, not inside, but rather outside of its body. The fly then drinks the liquefied material. And once that chemical breakdown happens, you cannot get the original substance back. Not with your hands, not with tools, not with technology. You cannot get that back. And that is exactly described in the Quran. Whatever the fly takes, humans can never retrieve it. And this is a detail that was unknown in the 7th century, a verse that aligns perfectly with what science discovered over 1,000 years later. And there are plenty and plenty of examples like this throughout the Quran. Sometimes the smallest things can carry the biggest signs.